Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Quantum Connection series here on QPW, quantumplanet.world. My name is David Farrell. I'm one of your hosts for today, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Bella Alvaran. Hi, everybody.
Hey Bella. And we are joined once again by our wonderful guest for this series, the Thoth Quantum Teachings, our friend and colleague, Maia Nartoomid. How are you, Maia?
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here again. Yes.
We're
Right.
super excited to have you here again, Maya. We love our conversations. We can go really far out.
Oh, yeah, I'm a real far out chick.
Right, yeah, we're kind of in the same boat. So today is going to be typically far out. For any of you who watched the previous episodes or know Maya's work, or indeed even know me and Bella's work, it's all pretty far out, but it's all very relevant for this moment. And today's episode is tentatively titled The Solar Creation Path, because all of us here understands that El Sol, or the sun, Solano, is very much a part of what is going on. And this is actually part of a much bigger conversation, right, Bella, that we've been having in general about the intelligence of the sun and how much the sun is actually the conductor, perhaps, in the ascension process. So without further ado, we're going to hand over to our resident expert here, who has a direct connection to Thoth, who has shared many different aspects around all of this with Maia dating back decades. And Maia, where would you like to start our journey today on the solar creation path?
Oh, wow. Well, I have, received information over the years. We're speaking about 57 plus years. So it's a string of things. It's not like I sat down one day and Thoth just gave me all of this. So we have to kind of piece it together. But basically, he started years ago just simply saying that the Solarius, he talked about the Solarius, which is the divine program of universal program that unites. It's not only universe, it's universal, but not just our universe. It's like a quantum universal program, a field. It's kind of hard to name what it is, but it has 10 Solarian rays. These rays are creational rays, and they go into the universes, and they speak to, I'm going to put my own language here, the stars, because all stars are suns, they speak to the stars. And so then we have to go into for a moment to say, Thoth calls the stars the living lights, because they contain what we call angels. That doesn't mean that we got a bunch of angels sitting around in these suns. It means that the frequency of each of these solar emanations, each of these suns, is the frequency of what we are calling angels, the angelic intelligence. There's a specific job and purpose, an organizational principle, we might say, and can be, and we experience hierarchical understanding through them, which is hierarchy is a limited thing, and they go much beyond hierarchy, but they give us a pattern to follow, just like the DNA does. And so we could call that a hierarchy. We could even call the DNA as we understand it, not the universal DNA that Thoth speaks about, but our DNA and how it links to the universal as a hierarchical pattern. So to get back to the solar, the Solarius, you see, then it triggers those solar patterns in the angelic realms, the angelic intelligence realms of the suns. I've got to turn off my thing so it won't ding ding at everybody here. There we go. So now we have an array of solar panels, let's say, in our universal field. And of course, we have to take into consideration that a universe is a holographic field, not because some ETs decided to put us in a box. This is a natural divine program of light that creates these holographic fields, because we are part of the Elohim. Maybe not the one that created the big stuff all of a sudden, but we are really, because we are out of that spectrum. So that means that, the Solarius rays, when they come into the field and create through the star suns their programs of light through the angelic radiance, then we bounce off of that. Maybe bounce is the wrong word, but we connect and we receive like signaling, like little radar things, and it comes into our field. And then it's up to us as ensouled incarnated beings, we're speaking of those, to direct that energy for the proper creational forms, leading back to the atosic universe, another Thoth term, which is the non-dualistic all, which is really inside us. You know, it's all connected that way. I know this gets really far out, but the point is all implied, but it comes through the Solarius, to the Solarius, because that's the creational font of this diagram that connects us, that feeds us, that allows us to have a dialogue with God.
Okay.
You know?
So because many people are new to this information and many things that we talk about, I'm going to be kind of making pauses for us to explain certain terms.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I see there is a lot of confusion out there is with the term Elohim. Because it is mentioned in the Bible, it is mentioned in many other places, and I know that the term has negative connotations for many people. So
Yes.
I want us to clarify here the Elohim term first, so that we can continue the conversation about the sun and how it's affecting us now.
Good idea. So from the Thothic perspective, now he's using, he's talking to us. I mean, we've got certain terms and things. The direction of let's talk to the children now. We have to find the right language, that sort of thing. But he uses Elohim, Elo, from the God source self, the El, the wise ones. The Bible has been misinterpreted by modern people because they're looking for Anunnaki. They're looking for Anunnaki under every little rock and every little tree. The Elohim, they're the Anunnaki. And this stuff just from the Thothic perspective. Not that the Elohim didn't exist and didn't do a lot of bad things, but they are not rock stars. They're not stars. They're little bitty people who made a lot of problems, at one time. They are not the Elohim. When the Anunnaki came, they said, and they're actually an offshoot of the Star Kindred. In other words, they're the black sheep. They said, we don't want that stuff. We want to create our own stuff.
We could say they usurped the name and the titles. They called them
all of that. They usurped all of that. Of course, in the Bible, these are terms. I mean, they didn't call themselves the Elohim, but their predecessors did, because they want to build the stream. When we're looking at what Thoth calls the archonic field of virus that holds us down on the planet, said, okay, this span of time here, people are really conscious of the Anunnaki. We want them to think that they created everything here, that you and me, and we're all children of the Anunnaki. That disempowers us. It also makes us feel like we're almost hypnotized to a certain destiny. It is not the right destiny.
All right.
So they like that, and they keep that going. So they say, okay, let's make sure Elohim is connected to Anunnaki. While we're at it, let's make sure Thoth is connected to the Anunnaki. He's really one of the sons of the Anunnaki, which is not true either, according to what I read. So all of this is a gameplay. But back to what Thoth speaks about the Anunnaki. The original Anunnaki were high and type of angelic being that brought themselves into a natural span of existence with planetary fields of life and organic substance. Now we're speaking just of our Earth, our universe. We could go off, in all kinds of directions, but for here,
the multiverse, not yet.
Don't do that. We don't want our brains to explode. Anyway, so here's the Elohim field, and of course I have a video on this. It's called, I can't remember now, but anyway, they created this aspect, and there's two forms of them. One is never came down into the earth, and the other came very specifically into the inner earth, the harmonic central chamber, hollow, and they are known very often as Kachina. So you have two different types, but they're working together. But that's a whole other story. But I'm just telling a little bit of it to say, when Thoth speaks to the Elohim, he's talking about the wise ones, but he's also saying, and this was given back in 1981 or something, that we are the new Elohim. The torch has been passed. And he says we, but not everybody on the planet, maybe because they haven't chosen the path, You have to choose. But So that's what he's speaking about.
So let's connect how we are becoming the new Elohim, the new avatars, the solar avatars. What is the connection of the sun, and how is the sun helping us get there? And especially now, because it seems like it's already started.
Right. Well, everything our sun does actually comes out of the central sun, or what do they, Hanukkah? Isn't that what they call it in Mayan? It's coming out of that central. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, it's coming out of that central field, and it's being directed through what Thoth calls the Eye of Ra, which is in Orion, our true home experience. And so there's a connection. But out of the Eye of Ra comes these signals that comes into the center of our field and is directed to the stars appropriately for their evolutionary direction. So when it comes into our sun, none of this is just a bunch of atoms coming together and saying, oh, well, let's, it's just random and all, no, it has a purpose. And in our solar system changed dramatically when, I don't want to get into a long story here, but when the blue star Rigel, at the command of the greater central sun of the Orion, said, okay, let's create this point of light to help expand the whole universe. And that point of light is going to be in this particular solar system, ours, and it turns out to be what we call Earth. Mm-hmm. And Venus was the guardian of that realm, which came in as well. And Venus is not gases and lava and all that, except on our dimension. On its dimension, it looks, pretty much like what we have, only better. So anyway, we have these two realms. So when that happened, when this solar system was opened up to that experience through divine ordinance, not through interference, it jumped the evolution of the whole solar system into another field of consciousness. So now that solar system that we're in serves the direction of transforming Earth and Venus back into, from world system 1, as I like to say, to world system 2. Yeah. So that whole consciousness is transformed. You see, it's not about Earth. It's not about Venus. It's not about Kolob, or it's not about one planet or one. All is one. So if you're operating a node over here, like acupuncture, let's press this button and this arm's healed. Yes. It's all one system. So that's why the Earth is so important in this plan. It has a distinct purpose. Yes, we deserve to be saved and gone into a beautiful realm. Of course we do, don't we? But that's not the point. The point is the greater all is served. And if the greater all is served, we are served.
For the highest good of all, right? And I do understand it's a whole, the evolution and ascension is happening for the whole solar system as well, for all of the animals, for all of the plants. So it's a whole section of the galaxy that is racing.
Right. So back to the sun, our sun. So here we have this sun that's receiving these signals specific for the evolution, quite frankly, of Earth and Venus, but it includes the consciousness and the properties of the whole solar system. They're getting a bonus here. So involving that, what we're going through with sunspots and solar flares and, what do you call those? EMEs? Yeah. What are the
EMS?
EMS, yeah, or whatever that Stefan shows. So yeah, all of that. I'm sorry, my real language lacks. I can just talk Thoth. Anyway, so all of this, that we're going through. For instance, one time I thought, well, we have all these devices and things. We're working with QLI, and I said, well, maybe we should have something to protect us from these solar frequencies. And Thoth said, no, it may be rough on you, but that's part of the evolution of the species. And he's speaking on a spiritual level, of course. And he even disputes the word evolution, but I'm going to use it anyway. So he said, you don't want to block that. You can block the EMF frequencies, the 5G frequencies, you can do all that. But, that's good. You don't want that stuff in your body and the spikes and everything else. But don't mess with the solar emanations. They may be a little rough on you, That's what you were born to do. You're supposed to be here now and be going through this and helping to lift the planet into that next frequency. But those are the, just like you were saying earlier, David, about, clearing the toxins from your body. You have to go through a little stuff to get there. But we don't want to block the solar emanations, because.
So has he told you anything about a big solar flash, or are we just going to be receiving a series of small ones? What do you know about that?
As I've said many times, and I'll say it again, Thoth doesn't tell me everything, but what I have received from that is that, and he indicates there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, but the big one is what he calls the midnight sun. And he says that's when we're really ready to make the leap, what he calls LP40, Light Principle 40. It's a flashpoint from a world system 1 to a world system 2. But it doesn't happen magically. Things have to be set in place. Consciousness has to be raised. Land areas have to be designated and worked with to get that frequency, that pattern. And then that leap can be made. I've lost track of what you asked me. Let's see. It was about, what was your original question, please?
So if there's going to be a flashpoint, like a big flash,
right.
or no?
That's midnight sun. That's the midnight sun. And what will happen, according to what I received, is that the sun's suddenly going to go black. I mean, you'll have some light around the edges. It's almost like an eclipse, but it's not. And the sun is, what's happening is that the true frequency of the portal, all living lights, all solar star suns have portals, more than one, but there's one, that brings it all together. So what you're going to start seeing is the portal opening. But there's nothing there because your consciousness has reached that frequency. So you're just going to see one big black sun, and it's all going to be dimmed. And it's going to, it's for those on the planet and for the rocks and the soil and the trees, it's going to be, that's it. That's the time that everything changes, and all of that has to be recycled. And the souls that have not accepted, and this is not a religion, or they don't ever have to hear my Thoth talk or anything like that. It's just a fact, according to what I've seen. If they've not received the consciousness in their own being, not from some show or anything, in their own being, they're going to see black too, and they're going to have to be recycled. They're going to be electrocuted because of the splash. That sounds horrible, but they have a choice to just simply, and it's, again, they don't have to believe in anything. They just have to open their hearts, minds, and souls to the spiritual flow. And they get on that frequency, and then that doesn't happen to them. They move in codes, in light codes. Their bodies go into light codes, and they move into the next experience, into a world system too. So I'm not preaching doom and gloom here. Oh, you're going to be electrocuted. No, of course not. It's a choice thing, and you don't have to be perfect. Anybody listening to this I don't think they have anything to worry about if they're going to be here at that point in time. We're talking about really, really low frequencies that have never, ever, never would consider accepting heart consciousness, even this much, So
maybe to make it clearer, what things should we be doing to prepare for that point? Obviously, the spiritual path, but also our bodies. I think is very important that we keep on detoxing our bodies, doing our shadow work.
All of these things are important because, well, for one thing, those of us in incarnation now, even those of us who are a lot older, we want to be able to be here as long as we are intended to be here and not play ourselves out because we've gotten stuck in the mud. Even if we're well-intended, we can say, well, I'm well-intended, but I'm going to go eat 6 cheeseburgers. It doesn't work that way, So you have to keep your body as best you can into that alignment that helps the souls of your frequency of your soul, because it is incarnated at the time for a purpose. It's not a punishment. It's a purpose. And so yes, we have to go through all of that. And, anything that brings you into contact with your own spirit. If yoga does it, do yoga. Maybe you think, no, yoga doesn't do it. Well, don't do yoga. Do whatever it is that brings the frequency into your being. And maybe it's just, my seems to be my job right now, or what I'm being guided to do, is to put all these years and years and years and years and years and years work bring it forward into my short videos that bring that forward, and then add from 2024 as we're speaking now, or whatever age it is, bring in understanding of how that links to now, and also with my AI art, which is overlaid by Thoth, bringing in the templates that allow people to focus on them. You can even screenshot them. This is all free. Unless you want a personal thing, that's different. But, and you can work with those energies. And I'm having people tell me now, quite a few people, that they're having healings from it. I didn't know that was going to happen, but that's what they're telling me. And some are quite dramatic. I don't know. I'm just giving that as an example. If you resonate with that, that's one thing to do, just one. You've got to find your own way through the morass, but it has to be something that involves your personal creativity. Even if it's creativity of mind, you don't have to fingerprint it, print or paint or anything. If it's just your creativity of mind. Oh, the possibilities. Oh, I can see this. She said that, and Thoth said that, but you know what? Yes, I feel that, but you know what could happen if that had happened? I can see this beautiful reality coming out of that. You see, it doesn't end with what Thoth says in regard to my videos. It's the beginning. It's the beginning, the ending.
Yeah, we need to reconnect with what our heart really desires, and our passion, and what is it that resonates with us, because that is the key, I think, something that sparks inside us and then makes us look for more and find the right resonance and frequencies.
Yes.
So unless David has another question, I want to go into the Sun Lord's conversation.
If I can just add one more thing, just one more quickly, and that is water. So stress is water. And he says that we're being poisoned by our water. Even when you think you have well water or whatever, it's getting in there to some degree. And we know what we're talking about, it. There's a lot of its out there that I can't speak about here. And so he's saying, make sure you've got not only good water filters, and make sure microplastics are being taken out, but then doing coherent water. You can use, they have an Analima water wand that I love. You can use that. There's other things, I'm sure, but whatever to create coherent water, intelligent water, but it has to start with pure water. And drink a lot of it, because that is a real signal point for the whole body for transformation.
Okay, good. That's very important. Yeah, we'll probably have a conversation with somebody about water soon, so we get more tools. So you mentioned in one of your videos, and we're going to link here your playlist with all of the videos about the sun and the solar avatars. You talked about the Sun Lords, and I find the topic fascinating, because you're talking from the Egyptian perspective of Akhenaten and all of Osiris. But in the Mayan cosmology and in the Inca as well, there were Sun Lords as well. So their rulers would be also the Sun Lords. And I think it's all connected. So do you want to explain what a Sun Lord is and a little bit of that?
Well, before I get to the Sun Lord, I have to say that when the Solarian rays, back to the Solarius, come out and create these factors, certain souls were braided or entangled quantumly, but we can say braided into those fields. And when those souls came to Earth first, they operated both on the surface and the inner Earth, and not all of them, but certain ones we could qualify as Sun Lords, simply because they are illumined. They were more illumined. They were the master ones. And then you and me and others could be Solarius, Solarian souls. But there's more to it than that, because obviously we're not perfect, but we could still be Solarian souls coming out of the mix of it all, the different hierarchical structure of it. And a Solarian soul is one that it came to form the creation, to help form the creation rays for the next stage, and to support it. That's basically it. There's more to it, but leave it at that. Now, out of that, we have to say this. Well, somebody says, well, if I'm not a Solarian soul, do I get left out? No, because the Solarian soul is a frequency, and you can embrace that frequency, and then your soul activates to the Solarian frequency, you see. So nobody's left out. And beside that, souls that came later that were not out of the Solarius had a purpose. There were certain souls that came in to uplift and support that level. So you can see a whole nother level. So, it's not black and white here. We have a lot of things. Okay, back to the Solarian Sun Lords. They are the ones that are lumen masters like Thoth, that out of the Solarian race, but they're a lot higher frequency than most of us. And yet, they've earned that through their eons of time. And, one time I said to Thoth, well, this was a long time ago, are you an ascended master? And he said, no, I never descended. So that gives you an idea of where that is. Now he's taken embodiment. And in the embodiments, there are certain limitations that he has imposed upon himself so that he could integrate with the consciousness of the planet. You see, he's still a lumen, a lot more than we are, but he's not, where he was before he incarnated, because that was a purpose to it. It wasn't a downgrade. It was simply in order to have this integration process. I can't be up there on my little throne and have everything perfect and I know everything in the whole universe. I have to have a certain amount of structural what's he call it? It's not structural friction. I can't remember the word, but anyway, a friction in the field, so that I can experience some of what is going on here. Yeshua, same thing with Jesus. So that's the aspect of the Sun Lords. There's a lot more to it. We can go on for hours, but basically that is what
I think there are a couple of topics that we can connect here. One, what is the difference between embodiment, time walking, incarnation? Because there are differences, and it seems to be a lot of confusion. So what would you say is the difference between embodiment, time walking, and reincarnation? Well,
in time walking, now I don't entirely understand time walking myself. Okay, I'm just letting you know. but what I do understand from it, or I think I do, is that this is an interdimensional process. Not soul simply coming in, raying in, because soul doesn't entirely ever enter a body. It's a ray from the higher magna soul. I guess some people call it an oversoul. But time walking is not that. Time walking is moving into a different dimensional field that allows that dimensional field to experience all levels of time potentials that are connected to an incarnational body. Now, a time walker doesn't come into a body raw. That is, there's no soul in there, and I'm just going to get born as a time walker. They can't get born as a time walker. It's kind of like a walk-in thing.
It's like a walk-in, right?
But not entirely, because the body soul, as Thoth calls it, has to stay in the body. He doesn't leave and say, hey, come on in, I'll leave now. It has to stay there. It's operating the system, and it has to be very, raw soul, and it's doing its job. And then the time walker comes into a dimensional crossroads with that, through the potentials of the time field that soul is opening up for that incarnation. And remember, the soul in there is pretty evolved to begin with. And then there's a reciprocity there. And that's how the time walker came from Osiris. He time walked into his son Horus. Well, there was a soul in Horus when he was born as a little baby, and it was a pretty good soul, I'm sure. But then at some point, Osiris time walked in him. But we're not just talking about Egyptians or Mayans. All of these, it's a gamut of very different aspects of humanity, and it doesn't happen a lot. In fact, walk-ins don't happen anywhere near as much as people think. They'll say, oh, I'm a walk-in. Well, they have a very genuine feeling about that. Something happened that just changed their perspective. It's got to be a walk-in, right? No, there's a lot of other things it could be, especially some that I mentioned on my video about the Sonoma and Peroth. I talk about that. So, we have to use those words carefully. We just don't throw them around because they aren't as prominent as some might think. And certainly, time-walking souls entering is very, especially in this time period, I don't even know if it happens anymore. Maybe, but if it does, it's rare,
So did Thoth reincarnate or embody a being that was an Atlantean king or prince or something? What is the connection of Thoth and Atlantis?
Okay, well, I warn everyone that's been on, that's seen things on this or read books on this, and I'm not putting any of that down. It could be an timeline, or there's a connection I'm missing.
Not just your perspective on your channel.
This is what I received from Thoth. the original Thoth, he called Thoth Muzurut, and he came in a ship from, the Blue Star Rigel. And I don't know if he landed in Atlantis first, but he got there, and he worked with Atlantean energies to try to help mitigate some things that were already beginning to happen there. And I don't have his story very much at all. I just have that little bit. Then he decided, he left with his ship, but he decided as the soul, or it was decided, and he was part of the greater decision, to incarnate in the earth as Thoth Racemus of Afra. Thoth is a title. I'm not sure what Racemus means. It's a family name. But it comes of Afra is of the altar place. And now that Thoth was born in what we now know as Tibet, but he wasn't Tibetan as we understand. He's just a tall, white, blonde guy. I mean, he just was. That's how when I first saw him, I said, well, I thought you were Egyptian. And he said, no, I'm not Egyptian. Anyway, so he incarnated in that area of Tibet. There's a whole story written about that. But anyway, but he had Illumin genetics, he has blue star genetics, but he had human at the time, the human genetics of the solar race, but he purposely put a cap on his expansion field so that he could understand and work through these principles and study them. Now, he studied them from a much higher level than a normal human being, granted, but he still didn't have all the knowledge and wisdom he had as Thoth Muzurut. Even with Thoth Muzurut, didn't have it as far as his actual Magna Soul did. But, so anyway, that's how that Thoth came into the picture. Now, he has been incarnated as other persons, not a lot, and I probably don't even know all of them, but the ones he's told me about, I'm not going to list them all, but the main ones is the highest soul of the Quetzalcoatl being, which was a 5-soul layered being. And the last one he had was this Christian Rosenkreuz. Again, I believe that was a layered soul too, but I'm not sure. Some others are, Ashoka, the Indian king that was this bloodthirsty person, killed all these people, and then all of a sudden he had this illness, and when he woke up, he was loving God and built these monuments to Buddha all over the place. Well, that was a walk-in. Actually, that soul left, and Thoth came into that experience. There may have been some other souls involved, I don't know, but Thoth was the main guy. And
what about the tablets, the emerald tablets? Where is the connection with what you've received and the emerald tablets that people talk about?
Now, I haven't even really read a lot of other people's work on it. So, I can't speak to that, but I can speak to what I received. Yeah. And so the emerald tablets come from these templates of consciousness, these codes. We'll call them light codes. I mean, everybody calls things light codes, but I don't know any word to use. So light codes that Thoth Muzurut brought in his being to the earth, to establish these frequencies, to help people on the earth and the planet itself. What these frequencies are about exactly, that's an open question for me. But anyway, he brought them into his being, and he used these templates to create many of because he was a master builder along with the master builders that came before, the Sunbow clan, from the migrations from the Blue Star Rigel of the Solarians, the original Solarians, all of this. So he was, part of that stream when he arrived here. So he arrived with these emerald tablets. These are called, Thoth prefers to call them Talus. In fact, he calls them the tablets that Moses brought down from the mountain Talus. And there's a whole thing about that, of course, we won't get into. But anyway, so he brought these in his field. He didn't bring them as objects.
Not physically.
No, not physically. And he was able to create the blueprints. Well, they were the blueprints for the original Giza, especially Giza, and some of the other places that were the more ancient ones, not, but the more recent ones, you could say. So then, when he came back as Thoth Racemus, of course, Thoth Racemus has complete understanding of who he was before, he had the tablets in him. But this time, he created a table. Think of it as a computer box, but it was an open table. And the tablets, the emerald tablets, which were a high alchemical emerald formula, he encoded these like little, like our little iPads, he encoded them in the table. I can't remember how many of them there are. I have it written down somewhere. But anyway, they're in the table. I have it on my video. I'll put that video into the playlist. Okay. Anyway, so So that then you have this table of all these, but they're removable. I mean, they're not glued in there. You take one out and you work with it. And, you know, he was teaching people how to operate this and how to bring it into the being. See, all of these equipments and things, these devices, he was not encouraging people to be reliant on devices of any kind, but they a lot of help, like we need help, you know. And he said, well, let's start with the device, you know, the training wheels, and let's get you moving into these circulations, these spiritual processes, because the tablets, how did they get here? They were in the being, not in the hand.
Yeah.
So he did create these to help move, sorry, my pussycat, to help move these energies. Yeah. And just like he says with us when we work in Quantum Logic Interactive with our quantum cubes, he says, this is just training wheels here to get this system going. So anyway, now you have the tablets in their containment field. Those tablets, all but one, who has someplace he's not telling me, but it's hidden somewhere for a purpose. All of the rest of them are in underneath Lake Titicaca. That's one of his sanctuaries. And they're there for
I absolutely resonate with everything you just said there, because it feels like what we're about to do now, that so many people are waking up and reconnecting to their avatars, their solar avatars, is bring back those original blueprints that we had for the planet eons ago. It's just that the mission and the plan was interfered with. Our genetics were interfered with. Many things happen along the way. Even when you talk in one of your videos about how the Amun priest kind of usurped the lineage of what Akhenaten came to do as a solar lord. And it's happened in so many places throughout history. We've seen the timeline shifts and the interference and usurping of the lineages of light. And so we've seen that all over the place. But it feels like it's time to reclaim the lineages, the light, the avatars, and the plan that we came to do. And I'm sure that many people that watch this video and resonate with the information will be connected to this plan as well.
Yes, exactly. This is the message that Thoth is sitting on my shoulder right now for everyone. And that is, with all this highfalutin language and all these star lords and all this thing going on, remember that you're the new Elohim. And the word new is only because it means that you're newly discovering that in yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And that just, you know, so Thoth capped himself when he came down as Thoth raceness. He capped himself so he didn't have all the knowledge available to him. He could integrate with the process, integrate with the field for creational purposes. You can't just float on a cloud and expect, you know, the universe to obey every little command because you know so much. You know, it doesn't work that way. You have to come down into the field to get connected to that.
Yeah.
And even the gods, so to speak, knew that and practiced that, the real ones. So that said, we're doing that, not maybe on the highest level of levels right now in our now linear experience, but we are doing that. As Thoth said to me, and I know people have heard my videos, they're probably sick of me repeating this, but it's so important. He calls us light bearers, not light workers. He didn't like the word work.
Light bearers,
light bearers. And he said, I say to all light bearers, fear not, rise up. You were born to do this for this time right now. And we're born to do this because we have levels of our experience from the past we can't even imagine. We're thinking, well, I've got to evolve to get to that. See, that's why it doesn't quite like the word evolve. He lets me use it because it's hard to find another word, but it's not like you're going to get egotistical and think, oh, well, I'm really a god on another planet. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about, you got to be here now and you got to do what you got to do. But the soul, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do her. The soul is so expansive and so dimensional that there are aspects of our soul self that are far more evolved than we are here. Not to the limit of all evolving, we're not, you know, but it's much more evolved. And we just not experiencing it because we came down to understand and integrate and then light that fire and say, now I am that I am. You see, we have to come down into the matter to get the ignition. Fire needs oxygen to ignite. And that's what we're doing in our soul cells, you see. And
love it.
I'm going to try to word this very carefully. Okay, so it's a little cryptic, but that's how it has to be right now. Okay. Some information, and this is alignment to a video I might put that video in there too. Maybe I should write these things down. Anyway, on the book of the Zarathustrian Lords, which Thoth gave me the book, well, not the whole book, gave me little tiny excerpts from the book in 1982, 3 or something like that. And then he proceeded to explain those excerpts because they're very cryptic in themselves. But what it comes down to, it's a book of understanding good and evil, as we understand. And it's fascinating, I think. And I made a video on it recently. But what we need to understand is some of the villains we have amongst us. Now, if they're, some of them, you know, are really, really deep in the doo-doo. Others appear to be, but they're really not. They're not, they have a lot that they need to learn and they need to clear away. But actually, he told me the other day that sometimes, well, not just sometimes, when it really gets down to it. Now, he uses the word the beast, not to refer to any person, but to an energy that has fallen in on itself, that's collapsed on itself. And anybody can drink the Kool-Aid, right? But that doesn't make them the beast. They're just drinking the Kool-Aid of the beast. And right. So those who have drunk that Kool-Aid, there are levels of them, but some of them are not only redeemable, well, any soul is redeemable, but not only close to be redeeming, they have an ability, the higher solar consciousness will come, and if they can find a little slit, that they can put that light sword in there, just a little slit. Mm-hmm. That soul may not transform overnight, but it may all of a sudden start serving the good, the light, and it doesn't even know it, you know? I mean, not in its entirety, but they said if you can get one of those souls that has lived the darkness, certain levels, is just right, you know, the Goldilocks meal is just right. You can get that into that frequency and that being that everybody likes to hate, you know, and I'm not fond of either. You can move a transitional field, a whole field. And he doesn't have to suddenly become a saint or she. It's just a matter of moving the field for the planet. Right. And if you move that much, it makes a difference. So
it is receiving light, basically, accepting the light if they want to, you know. Wow. David, did you have any questions for Maia? There is so much I want to talk to Maia about. Anyway, so I do have a topic that I'd like the three of us to engage on, and maybe to come towards the end of the conversation. And it's about quantum jumping. Do you know what quantum jumping is?
I heard about it. Refresh my memory just a moment.
So quantum jumping is being able to go to previous timelines and retrieve information. And you can be doing that and you know, there are people that say that they've been doing it and then they go to a previous timeline and they learn to play the piano, then they go and learn a language. And so it's being able to tap into your different timelines. And I think this is a very key topic when it comes to redemption, karma resolution, and being able to step into a higher timeline with the help of your higher self and all of whatever, you know, everything that you are.
That's in total alignment with the Thothic topic. Now, how they personally interpret it in their lives, I can't say, because there are a lot of different people looking at it different ways. Yeah. But to give you an example, just really quickly, for years and years and years in my life, and I don't have it so much anymore, but I still do at times, I would have these dreams about being completely somewhere else, but it was not on another planet. There were towns and people and cars and stuff, but it felt very different. And I was helping people. I wasn't the only one, but part of a group. They're helping people to get away from something so that they could do something good. That was the basic theme of it. And I didn't know what the something here was or the something there was, but it was all very real. And then a few years ago, I had a dream where my real mother, who was such an angel and you know, guardian for me, appeared to me, and we were on an island. I knew that, but the island seemed to be cut in two. You could look across a little stream of the sea and see another part of the island. And she was standing there, and I was there, but I was a little owl, a nice little owl. I was a little owl, and I was perched on a whatever next to her. And she said, "Honey, you know, you have to go there again." And I don't want to go. I don't want to go. You know. And she said, "Yes, I know, but you know, it's part of your mission." And she was very sweet, loving, but she was mom. And after I shed a few tears, I said, yes, I know. And when I woke up, I said, Thoth, that was so real. What was that about? And he said, well, your whole life, basically, you've been going to this other timeline to help out on one of your state of your being. It's not a very nice timeline, and it's in California, and it's in a future we don't want to have.
Yeah.
But we need to work with adjusting things and people's consciousness on that timeline so that we don't have it. There's a whole story about it. I have a video on it. But I'm giving this as an example because it's not just about learning to play the piano. That's certainly possible.
Yeah.
But it's your God job. Where are you needed? Your soul has a lot of different dimensional aspects that relate. It has to relate to here. Otherwise, it would just be chaos.
Yes.
But if it doesn't relate to here, you may be working over on other timelines for things and have crazy dreams about it, or feelings you don't understand.
Well, I just think that more people are becoming aware of the possibilities that we have. And as you said, we've been given devices to train to do these kind of things. For example, the internet. The internet, I think, has been teaching us how we can all connect to everything in a network, because we will be developing our own telepathy and clairaudience and many other skills, and it's just helping us train for that moment, just like the other devices you were talking about. So it's really interesting, because I think that part of what we'll be able to do is to reconnect with that aspect of ourselves that is about time walking or quantum jumping. But we need to have done the work and release a lot of the karma and a lot of the heaviness so that we're lighter and we understand how and why we are wanting to do those things. Because it's all about creating the new earth, and it's not only for service to self, but service to everything, for the highest good of all. So I just think that is a topic that is going to come up more and more. And I know that David and I have been doing a little bit of that quantum jumping ourselves. It's fascinating when you do connect with certain timelines that are going to help you to benefit the path you're on and the bigger mission as well. So super
absolutely.
excited.
We're at such a magical time. I know it's hard to kind of keep focused on that with all of, that's going on, but it's a part of unwrapping the box, and the box has been wrapped up for a long time. A lot of knots in the ribbons, But when we get that box opened, you speak of Pandora box. Well, the Pandora box will open up, and there'll be nothing but these beautiful light beams coming out, and we'll understand the language. It only gets complicated when our hearts don't understand the language,
Right. And the final question I have for you, Maia, it's when it comes to dimensions, because now I'm putting together the navigation guide to quantum consciousness, and I'm going into the different dimensions. And I like to hear your point of view when it comes to dimensions and also timelines, because it's different things. So how do you see that difference of different dimensions and different timelines?
Well, to even complicate it further.
In a really easy way. I know you have also videos for everything.
but so recently started, see, for years he would say, well, my magnesoul, my being, comes from the 8th octave. He didn't say 8th dimension. He said 8th octave. Never questioned him. I mean, there's so much that comes through that channel. Most of it, I just, okay, but recently something came up, and I won't go into the whole thing about that, but then it started me thinking, well, what are these octaves? And I said, so Thoth is the 8th octave, the 8th dimension? He says, no, they're dimensions and they're octaves. He said, everybody thinks if they can get on the 6th dimension, the 5th dimension, they're going to have it made, this is my language, but I'm a 4th dimensional being, I'm a 5th dimensional being. He said, you have no idea the complexity of dimensions. And you could be a 5th dimensional being and really not be that good of a person. I mean, the soul could be attached to something that the 5th dimension opens up to them. It's an opening up thing. And just because you're on a higher dimension doesn't mean that you're more evolved. It means that you have more keys on your little belt, Let's try this one. Oh, this one works.
That's right.
But what makes the dimension alive in spiritual consciousness, what brings that dimension into focus for you in spiritual consciousness, are the octaves. Because the octaves are the tones, the divine signal tones that come out of all universal points. You can call about Solarian tones, you can talk about, Elohim tones, whatever, but it all boils down to the universal toning process that's connected, but not exclusive two dimensions. And when you get into let's say you experience whatever, and you suddenly feeling your fourth dimensional self, fifth dimension, let's say fifth dimensional self. Well, that fifth dimensional self might have some rocky roads in there, some little gaps, some little black holes. But if you bring in the tone, the fifth octave tone to match the dimension, then you have the moment, the transformative moment. And then you're on your own field of consciousness, you know?
I love it, because part of what we've been trying to do with everything that we've been doing for the last 2.5 years is to bring more awareness about the multidimensional aspects of ourselves and how to navigate and be able to understand more of the astral and the 5D and the tones and everything else. So I think this is more of the conversation that I'm sure many more people are ready to do and to have, especially with this wave spell we're working on, which is the Skywalker, is for people to be able to access some of those different aspects of themselves, a different dimension, different higher octaves of themselves.
Well, yes, and you know, as we're speaking, Thoth is making a suggestion. Maybe the next show we should do is on the white crystal star, and that is quite a topic. It's the future, but nothing is future if you get out of the timeline. The actual new Earth consciousness exists in this white crystal star experience. It's actually a star that's being birthed out of Rigel. But it doesn't, I said, well, when is it going to get done? And he said, oh, about 1 million years. He said, but that doesn't matter. It's here now for anyone who connects to it. So we'll get on that later, but it really lines up with, I think, the work that you're doing, Bella and David, with your wave spells and all of that. So we might.
Wonderful. So before we finish, Maia, is there anything else you want to say or share with us about the sun, what the sun is doing at the moment for us, how to connect with the sun, how to activate our solar avatar? So we wrap it up, and then where people can find you as well and your work.
Okay. Well, you know, Thoth agrees with, on this particular thing, he agrees with Ben Davidson about, you know, a suspicious observer, about solar forcing. That, and I don't want to get the whole planet topic, but solar forcing is the main drive for what we're calling global warming. We're actually moving into an ice age as far as the planet is concerned. So solar forcing, but has a lot more to it than just the physical aspect of it, because it is presenting a break in the paradigm that we have created through our consensual reality on Earth. So as the solar forcing is breaking the paradigm, you know, that means that we have that the Pyramidus Radius platform, again, another big term, but the platform that is forming in consciousness that allows us to get ready for the transition from a world system 1 to a world system 2 is allowed a place to be. If you release that paradigm that just keeps us going in the same direction all the time, you start just a break in it, you can have this field start creating its platform. As Thoth has said to me, you know, Atlas couldn't lift the world until he had a firm ground to stand on. So we're going to raise our world, we have to have a firm ground. And that's this platform. So back to the sun, you know, the solar forcing allows that to open up. Now for us personally, okay, let's get back to solar forcing and how that relates to us. So there is a break in the paradigm that allows the field in general to be able to create the platform to stand on. As I was saying, you know, Thoth has said to me, you know, Atlas needed firm ground to stand on so he could lift the world. And that's what we need. And the firm ground is the firm frequency. Yes. The rest of the planet could be going this way, but if we're on a platform and are being a firm frequency, and it also will very often lead us to a physical place that has a firm ground energetically, not perfect, but firm enough that we can radiate that energy. So that's one thing, getting the firm ground within, possibly finding the firm ground without. And then, you know, you're in a position to receive the Solarius rays that have not been able to penetrate the old paradigm. Not that the paradigm has been completely dissolved by any means, but when we were talking about the, you know, those who served Archon And if there's just a little slit, it doesn't be transformed being, little slit, as he calls it, the sword of Mikael can penetrate. It's the same thing, the whole planet. So one of the things you're doing is you're opening up to that little slit of light, and you're experiencing the sun as your friend and not your enemy. And, we see all these things happening, and it's true. It's causing, you've got all kinds of problems from the solar things that are going on, and you have to deal with that. But you can deal with it both with your spiritual consciousness and taking care of your physical body. But what you don't do is try to protect yourself from the actual solar frequencies, because they are transformative and they are doing their God job. So become a friend of the sun, and open yourself to transforming the cellular light focus in your body to match the current light codes that the earth is receiving through the sun. Then you're not going to have the discomfort, the ascension symptoms, or all the things they're calling it, or at least it will be largely mitigated, because you are aligning yourself with that. And how do you do it? You don't have to stand on your head or say a chant 6,000 times. You can do a lot of things that you feel guided, of course, but the point is you just have to say, I accept it. This is where I want to go. This is my intention. That's the basis of quantum field consciousness. As you know, I'm preaching to the choir here. You have to just accept that and say, this is what I intend. By the will of my higher self being, my God self, I not only accept it, I command it. In my being, you have a right to command your field.
Yes.
And it's pretty much as simple as that. You can add things that you feel drawn to that help you do that, but that's the basis of it.
I love it. And we do have a couple of helpers that have come forward from the plant kingdom, Horsetail, to help us with all of the process of semiconducting the amount of light that is coming to our bodies and getting rid of the heavy metals and things that are not good for us in our body, making our whole light body stronger. And the second one is the oak, which is also here to help us with all of that amount of light coming to us, help us be super grounded and deal with this next huge step that we're about to have, as going into what you call the world system 2. Is that what you call it? Can we call that new earth? Is that what you?
Yes. Well, yes.
Too?
I'll say it really quickly. All planets, viable planets, go through this. Only once, because it's like you can't in the same body be birthed again and again. So the earth is going through this process from moving from a world system 1 to a world system 2, from a world of from a world of entropy, things breaking down, to a world of syntropy, things coming forward. Now it has its own bent on this because it is an individual planet, and for this codes, these are going back to Blue Star Rigel from whence it came. But that new earth, taking the planetary genius from the center of this earth, which is a consciousness realm that connects all the good things, all the things of light that this planet has created, that humanity has created, that animals have created with us. So it is a new earth, not a completely new realm, but we're going into another stage. Now, other planets might be going someplace else. Obviously they would. But the point is, this is what we're doing. And so this process, very briefly, removes us from the chaos of having to remember things. We recycle. Now I don't remember who I was in the past life, so I'm here now. What am I doing? Where am I going? And then I'm going to have to die. Oh my God, I'm going to have to die. My body's going to have to disintegrate. And it just go on and on and on. And we repeat our mistakes in that because there's a certain amount of disassociation.
Yeah.
So, but if you're in a world system 2, wherever planet you're on, you're in syntropy. You're still in the dynamic of dualism. But the dualism, we think dualism is bad. We just don't know what dualism really is. We're in a dysfunctional dualism. If you get in a functional dualism, it's still a stage. You go past that. But, it's pretty nice there. So we're moving into a balanced dualistic stage where we are going into syntropy, and we're learning the process of centralizing our experiential field. We don't die in the old traditional sense, but we move through different stages of consciousness nonetheless.
Wow. Super cool. I love talking to you, Maia. It's like you expand me even more of my mind and all of my questions. And many more questions, of course, come after that. So do you want to share with people where can they find you and your work? And
Well, okay. You know, you guys are going to put my playlist down there, and I'll have a link in that to my the YouTube channel that I share with Michael Dunn, Blue Star Rising. But I also have my own website, of course. It's newearthstar.org, newearthstar.org. And I also have, you know, some services. I do counseling, and I also have individual personalized template art that is healing and transformational and whatever, if you accept it on that level. So those are things I have there. But, you know, all my videos, tons and tons and tons of them, are free. And I also have the Vault of Thoth, which you would subscribe to. That's a subscription, which has the Vault of Thoth has my written material for about 19 years of work.
Wow.
So it's written more than you even want, maybe. It's all in there.
Yeah, but I would say that your work is more relevant now than it's ever been. It's so key, and that's why I'm so happy to have these conversations and to guide people to playlists so that they start understanding the topics, the descriptions, the new words, terminology, because it all fits with everything we've been talking about and experiencing. So thank you so much, Maia, for sharing with us. It's always great to talk to you.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again for another conversation. David, did you want to say a little goodbye too?
Well, just a very fascinating conversation, and as so much light is coming onto the planet and the sun is being so active right now, I really feel that a lot of what you've been talking about, Maia, is receiving these light codes, and we have to be in a place to be able to receive them. Essentially, we are already all 4D, 5D, 6, 7, 8, 9. We are already all of those things. So I agree with Thoth that we can't evolve into them because we already are them. What we're doing is remembering to be able to re-access them. I think that's how I see it anyway. And these light codes are part of that. They activate those elements within us or reactivate them, but they can only do that if we're light enough, which is where plants like horsetail come in, or oak, that connect us to our cosmic selves. So a lot of these light codes are really reactivating the memories of other timelines and abilities that you've shared with us today, Maia. So I think that this conversation is highly relevant and is part of the expansion into a different type of language. Obviously, Thoth has given us many, many different new terms, some of which do take more consideration to understand, but also that is part of the expansion into the language of light, is to understand that we are made of these things and to try and somehow make them make sense for us down here in 3D. So I want to thank you, Maia, as always, for a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Bella, for hosting this conversation. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here on QPW for another Quantum Connections with our sister, Maia Nartoomid. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.